On your Tuesday episode of Locked On Raptors, tonight the Toronto Raptors play the Houston Rockets, which are what? A top 10 team in the NBA. And what do the Raptors do against top 10 teams in the NBA? They stink out loud. Can they change it? We'll get into that on today's show.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors. It is Tuesday, March the 10th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors for way too damn long on various platforms, giving all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. As always, and today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. And we're off and running here on a Tuesday episode of the show as the Toronto Raptors visit the Houston Rockets tonight, looking for a victory, a rare victory against a top 10 team in the NBA. And we're going to dig into this continuing problem for the Toronto Raptors. Are there any fixes in-house? The offense, can they do anything to grease the wheels against the best teams? Do they need to change how they're playing in clutch time? Is clutch time and their struggles in those close game situations kind of indicative of the wider problems with the team? We will get into all of that with our dear pal, Vivek Jacob from Raptors in 7, who is here. Later on, we, of course, will do a little debrief on the Toronto Raptors Media Game that we both took part in on Saturday, as all the podcasts have done to start this week. I didn't want to do it by myself on Monday because I actually fared quite well in the game, and it would have felt a little bit like I was smelling my own farts to be talking about the game solo, so we'll smell my farts together later on. Big V, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. You know, it's been a fun weekend for me. You know, the tennis is going. India won the cricket T20 World Cup. The Raptors were able to get a win against a non-top 10 team, which you would come to expect.
That's the bread and butter, baby.
All good. It's all good.
Yeah, hopefully that holds up through tonight when they take on the Houston Rockets, a team that kind of bullied them early on in the season. Of course, the Raptors didn't have Jakob Poeltl for the game they played against Houston early in the year. It was very much a welcome to the NBA, Colin Murray-Boyles. You're up against Steven Adams tonight type of situation. The Rockets, very different, obviously. And I'll tell you, Big V, like if the Raptors can't pick up a win against this Houston team and their junky offense and the rancid vibes one might expect from a team coached by Ime Udoka that also employs Kevin Durant, they may just never beat a top 10 team ever again this season. This might be the one. I don't think that's entirely true, but it feels like that's true right now as they continue to struggle against the very best teams in the NBA. I don't know, man. I feel like we've talked about this for months. It's been a recurring through line of the season, one of the least interesting and fun through lines of the season, frankly, because nothing is changing with this. But if the Raptors are to figure out their issues against the best teams in the NBA, the Rockets kind of come in with an incredible defense and an offense that is, missing Steven Adams and his acumen for collecting all the misses they throw up. Like, what can be changed? What can the Raptors do? Is there anything that can be done with the roster they have? Or is this just a problem they're going to have to address in the summertime with personnel additions and sort of reevaluating their mix of dudes? Like, I don't know. What you got for me on this one, Big V? Is there any solve in-house?
So in-house, I think, to an extent, when we talk about the best players being the best players, there is a challenge for Scottie Barnes, I think, to elevate himself offensively. I think defensively, he is giving you beyond what anyone can reasonably expect at his position. He's just absolutely incredible. First team all defense is absolutely on the table. He should make that team. But I do think when you look at the way things are constructed offensively, I do think that Darko needs to prioritize going to Scottie more, especially in the clutch. And I think that's where I think you have a solution that hasn't been thoroughly explored. And that's where I do think it starts. In terms of things that you would put at the top of the list, I think that should be at the top of the list. And, think about coming into this year, there's so many moments we can look back on in Scottie's career and be like, oh, fourth quarter Scottie, and and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And like we haven't really got that this season, and it's weird that with all the struggles, there hasn't been uh just the thought of, hey, you know what? Let's try going to our best player.
Yeah. Look, the Raptors are the 14th best offense in the NBA per clean the glass. Like they are not some like totally destitute offensive team, though it feels like it sometimes in their worst moments. In the half court, they are the 14th best team in the NBA as well. 98 points per 100 possessions and half court possessions. That's not incredible, but it's 14th. It's like way beyond where they've been in recent seasons. And so there's not really a big excuse for me to explain away why they're 27th in the league in clutch time offense and why their offense against the very best teams seems to end up in mud, right? We've seen the Raptors starting lineup score incredibly well, 125.5 offensive rating. The starters can put it in. The problem is that when things kind of grind down, you get into these fourth quarters where they're in that like lead preservation mode, or they're just trying to scratch and claw against a really good team that's locked in. It just seems to, sort of, we see the principles kind of dissolve away. And I don't think that's great. And look, part of it is they play an offensive style that is maybe more conducive to getting shut down by a defense that's super locked in. There's stuff where they run a million things off the ball. Like that's easier to blow up if you're super dialed in and everyone's on a string and you're kind of playing with the duress of knowing, hey, it's clutch time. Like we got to get this thing done. Like it's a harder offense to run against very good locked in defenses. I will grant them that, but it's not harder to the degree that they should be 27th in the league in clutch offensive rating, that their offense in the fourth quarter seems to just kind of fall off a cliff, that they've blown as many leads as they have in fourth quarters coming into it. Like, the teams around them in the bottom five in clutch offense are the Grizzlies, the Pacers, the Nets, and the Kings. That is not company the Raptors have kept this season, and it's not company the Raptors should be keeping, but at 102.8 offensive rating in clutch situations, it's just not right. And I am fully with you. I think there needs to be a bit of a reimagining of how the offense works, particularly in these late game situations. I think they're leaning a little bit too heavily on Brandon Ingram, maybe a lot too heavily on Brandon Ingram. They kind of, again, have their regular core principles of quick read and react offense and sort of using, one side and advantage on one side to create an advantage the other side. Like they just kind of boil it down to Brandon do something too often, and it just isn't working. And I want to get into some numbers. I'll probably say those for the other side of the break here, but on Ingram, like where do you view his role and responsibility in all of this? Like, is it coaching? Is it just Ingram maybe kind of, taking in some of his bad habits of the past and kind of infusing them into these big situations, kind of thinking, hey, that's what I'm here for. I got to go do the thing. He's had some moments late in games this season. I think the Pacers game, for example, stands out as like, hey, like I would feel this way too if I had hit a game winner over Pascal Siakam in a game like that. But yeah, where do you sort of place the blame at Brandon Ingram's feet for the maybe sort of lack of adhering to the core principles that might put Scottie Barnes in a bit of a more sort of on-ball advantageous position in late game situations that we just haven't seen?
Yeah, so I think there's different elements to this, and I think the first element is probably the fact that when you look at the clutch offense, they start out possessions going to BI.
Yeah.
Whereas when you look at the rest of the game, it is generally like a release valve mode where it's like you see the first 10, 15 seconds go a certain way, and then it's like, okay, if there's nothing, then now it's like, okay, BI, go to work.
Yeah.
And generally, if BI is taking an early shot, it's because he's the trailer on a catch and shoot three, or he's able to attack a poor closeout because they're in semi transition, whatever. I mean, that's generally how his early clock offense has come earlier in the game. And so I do think that they need to make that shift again to say, hey, like, those first 10 seconds of the shot clock, whoever's got the ball has got to be pushing, setting that tempo, creating pace, trying to create an advantage, and then you go from there. And I think there's a bunch of times where we do see in clutch situations where they inbound the ball to BI, and then he's walking the ball up the court. And then it's like that first screen comes and it's already down to 10 on the shot clock. And so I think that's a fundamental thing that has to change. And you know, to whom much is given, much is expected. Like, again, I do think whether it's Scottie, whether it's IQ, like they've got to be like, no, I am taking the inbounds, pushing the ball. We'll see what we can get early, and then we'll go from there. And I think that shift has to happen. Obviously, like it starts at the it starts at the head coach with Darko. Like, I did say that, probably halfway through the season, in terms of the Raptors meeting their goals and all of that, it'd be very hard to move on from Darko. But I do think that if nothing changes, if this is how the next, I think there's 6 games left against top 10 teams. If it continues to play out in the exact same way over the next 6 games, if it continues to play out in the exact same way in the postseason, to not see any kind of change and say the Raptors, end up being, they're 4-18 right now against the top 10. If it ends up being 4-24 plus a bad playoffs, then I think that would be something very damning on Darko's resume.
I mean, that's fair. I think maybe I'm going to withhold judgment on that part of it until like the roster has a little bit more in the way of offensive creation, because as much as coaching is part of this, I also think, we haven't seen it quite yet. So we can't fully draw conclusions as far as what would the offense look like if Scottie had more of the burden or if IQ had more of the burden. It's very possible the results will be the exact same. I would like to see them try it just to get that information. That'd be great.
Yeah.
For sure. But, I do think at some point there's a talent limitation and a sort of offensive creation limitation that you're kind of running up against. And I think that's why we've seen them be so okay with the Brandon do something offense, because we think back to the sort of Dwayne Casey era, right, where their late game offense wasn't terribly inspired. It was DeMar do something, and that worked because DeMar was really good in those situations, and Kyle obviously was there as this sort of organizer and creator and shooting outlet and all that stuff that they don't quite have right now. And so, they got by with it, and you play that way because you don't want to turn the ball over. You want to play low risk basketball, all that stuff, allow your defense to be able to do stuff. And look, the defense has been fantastic in the clutch, 99 defensive rating, the second best clutch defense in the NBA. That feels like it's been a real thing, as as much as it can be in the small sample size that is clutch stats. But they're not getting enough out of their zero risk offense. And I do think it's time to maybe introduce a little bit more risk to see what it can do. We'll get into more of the stats coming up in just a second to kind of illuminate the changes they got to make here. We'll also talk a little bit about RJ Barrett, who's playing really well, and maybe he changes the calculus of this a little bit too. We'll get into that coming up in just one second. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become my go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. You can pull up the Game Time app for any sporting event, any concert, comedy show, theater show, and you're going to find great deals on tickets. And the pricing is all up front. There's no surprise fees at the back end, which is a huge deal with ticketing apps. And Game Time will tell you, hey, this is what you're going to pay, and it's not going to go up randomly for some sort of random, vague, ethereal reason by the time you check out. It's great. They're great with last-minute options, too. NBA tickets are showing up at solid prices right before game time. So if you want to go to a Raptors game, say this Friday against the Suns, you can go and find your last-minute tickets over at Game Time as well. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. Gametime.co. Go check it out. Back at it here with Big V, Vivek Jacob, as we continue to dive on into the Raptors' issues against good teams and the sort of clutch problems that have maybe been a symptom of their broader issues against the good teams. Before we do that, just a quick reminder, the Locked On Raptors Every Dayer Club is open for you to sign on up. Link in the description of the podcast. Go to the landing page there. $5 a month, $50 for the year. Gets you ad-free access to the show. Plus, right now, you can hop on in and be part of our March Madness bracket, baby. We're doing a network-wide bracket, and you can also get yourself a month free of the Everydayer Club by using the code MARCH at the landing page. So you want to get a month free, hop on in, join our March Madness contest, and you will be in for a chance to win $100 worth of merch from the Locked On store. And of course, bragging rights. If you beat yours truly, you get to laugh and point and say, ha ha ha, I know the basketball college guys better than you. Come and sign up. We'd love to see you. Link in the description of the podcast. Okay, Big V. Some numbers for those who are maybe like, okay, yeah, like the crunch time offense hasn't been great, but it can't be that sort of, wide a gap between how they usually play versus how they're playing in these close situations. Wrong. Brandon Ingram has a 30% usage rate in clutch situations this season, Big V. It's higher than his regular on average usage rate over the course of the season by a bit. And he has a true shooting percentage of, actually, I'll have you guess this one. Where do you think Brandon Ingram's clutch true shooting percentage is?
45.
Lower, 40 on the dot. Not very good. That is sub Malachi Flynn zone. You never want to be in the sub Flynn zone. Meanwhile, Scottie Barnes has a 64% true shooting in the clutch. Want to guess what his usage rate is in clutch situations, Big V?
Like 12%.
It's 17%, but close. Yeah. You have that 13% point gap between Ingram and Barnes in their late game usage in close games, and Scottie has a 24% edge in true shooting percentage over Brandon Ingram. Not maybe the ideal use of the skills and tools you have at your disposal if you're running this late game offense. If you just extend it up to fourth quarters as a whole, Brandon Ingram's got a 51.5 true shooting percentage on 26% usage. Scottie Barnes at a 59% true shooting on 22% usage. And so there is a case here that late in these games, they should probably flip the way the offense works a little bit. And look, I get not wanting to overburden Scottie for the lion's share of these games, and even in clutch situations, right? Like, he's so important on defense. He does so much work. He covers so much ground. He expends so much energy that I get not wanting to put all of that on his plate. Part of why this season's been so good for him is that he has less of an offensive burden, but I think he's shown that he's a little bit better as far as like hunting the rim, blowing through guys, kind of using his strength to power his drives. I trust him finishing at the rim as well as anybody on the team. And I just think there's a case that there should be a little bit more on-ball Scottie late in these games. Also because Brandon Ingram is a damn good off-ball player and has played very well as a spot-up guy. He's a 39% catch-and-shoot guy. We know the damage he can do attacking a closeout. Like, I think the floor geometry makes sense to have Ingram working a little more off ball in these situations too. And that's before you even factor in that now you have Jakob Poeltl back. You can run IQ and Poeltl pick and roll, or RJ Poeltl pick and roll, and have, the best spacing you have within your starting five as well in those situations with Ingram working off the ball. I just think there's got to be a little bit more imagination here. And I think there's a statistical case here that Scottie Barnes is being vastly underutilized in these late game situations, and it really could turn their fortunes if he was just to get a little bit more of the action. They don't have to be incredible, man. Their defense in the clutch is awesome. They just got to be okay. They have to be the 14th best offense in the league, as they have been over the course of the full season, and not literally 27th. Anything to add onto this? Any of those numbers stand out as particularly surprising or damning to you?
No, not really surprised. It is damning. I think that's the part, going back to what I was saying earlier, when it's like, it'd be one thing if Scottie wasn't shooting that well and you're saying, oh, okay, well, maybe things will be different if you like use him more. But it's like the small sample size that he has done very well. So why not push for it, right? Like, it seems like there is a solution on the table. And so to kind of take one loss after the other against these top 10 teams and not explore it is something that feels very, very dubious. And I think that for me is like a red flag, especially if it continues to be the case over these final 6 games. We'll see how many of them are actually close. When I say final 6 games, I mean against specifically top 10 teams. And so, yeah, in terms of again, just getting into early offense, getting more options out of one, possession as opposed to walking the ball up the court. I think it's so clear that this team needs to play with a healthy pace, that needs to, have motion consistently to create advantages. And every time I see them start to walk the ball up, I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I think that's a big concern. The other thing I will say is as well, just looking at the game against the Knicks, since that's the last like sort of crunch time offense sample that we have, the most recent. Like I do appreciate Darko. The theory was sound in terms of, hey, let's get Brunson into these actions, and you're seeing IQ set screens, you're seeing Jamal Shed set screens, and nothing was able to come of it. At the same time, I will say that even in that game, you had a solution that was working just earlier in the fourth. Like pretty much every time Yak was setting a screen, they were getting good looks and scoring. And then it was like they were so adamant about getting Brunson into these actions that they were like hunting that beyond the need and beyond when you see that it's not working, it's like why not go back to what was right? Yeah. And then when the game got out of hand, all of a sudden there was an IQ Yak pick and roll, and Yak gets a bucket at the rim, and it's like, okay, well here we go again. So so I think some of that in-game reaction stuff, recognizing what's happening in the moment, that's the stuff that we'll obviously scrutinize even more in the playoffs. But yeah, we are starting to see that stuff at a more granular level.
Yeah, like you mentioned like the slow walk-up possessions. My least favorite ones are the like whoever has the ball quickly or Scottie, usually quickly, is just like up at the top while they try to run a million things for Ingram off the ball to get him a post up. And it takes 14 seconds, and usually it's not a very clean post up, and all of a sudden the clock is bearing down and something ugly is about to happen. Like I need to make like a jar that I'll put a little IOU in and then just present it to Darko at the end of the season and say, give me this amount of money, please, because it's affecting me physically and emotionally to watch those possessions. I would love to see Darko's response to that if I were to do that. Maybe he'd look more kindly after I, effectively was the trigger man on his assistant coach's sideline play we drew up in the media game, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But maybe less effectively because I missed the shot. But I want to get on the other side into RJ Barrett, who is playing very well right now, and I think kind of further hammers home that when this starting five in particular, the best five guys in the team, are running their stuff, they're very hard to stop. We'll get into what RJ's role in sort of rectifying some of these late game issues might be. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax. And look, I've told you plenty. I don't like doing taxes. It's not fun, and it's tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they're ever really going to get to your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball, it's nonstop, big games, tight spreads, conference tournaments this weekend, from early tip-offs to late West Coast shootouts. There's always an action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read, and you can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out on any given night in college hoops. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. That's very fun. So if you're maybe going all in on, I don't know, North Carolina, because you're a big Caleb Wilson head going into this NCAA tournament, maybe you want to take North Carolina to win a tournament game, plus Caleb Wilson to hit the over on his points, plus the over on his rebounds. You can do that and then apply that profit boost, and it's all there for you to play your parlays, whoever you want. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Wrapping things up here now with Big V as we continue to kind of probe and poke at this little problem the Raptors have where they can't beat good teams and their offense turns real butt late in close games against said good teams, against every team apparently. RJ Barrett's playing really well lately, Big V, and he did miss a big chunk of the schedule where the Raptors lost a lot of their games against the really good teams. I don't think that can be totally glossed over here. Their first month or so of the schedule was quite easy, and they performed quite well when RJ was healthy and there. And then in December, January, they played a whole gauntlet of teams, lost to most of them, and RJ just wasn't available for a lot of them. He's back now. The issues have still persisted against the good teams, but he's playing really well over the last 5-10 games and seems to have found his early season form once again, as we dug into on yesterday's show. Does a healthy and fully functioning RJ Barrett at all change this calculus for you, Big V? Do you feel as though there are more avenues to the Raptors figuring things out against good teams with this version of RJ playing, or are they still kind of drawing dead when things really boil down to crunch time? And are we still looking at the only answers here really in the big picture are off-season personnel additions?
I think he should theoretically change things. And that's why I still hold out hope. Like, I know there's been this narrative of like, this is what it is. And I think, you know, it leans that way right now heavily. But I don't think, you know, we've fully explored this, you know, healthy RJ, healthy Yak sample yet. And that's why I still hold out hope. And I still say, hey, change this, and you can get there. And, you know, it could be like one of those, like, just get over the hump and all of a sudden a lot changes because, you know, when I break down the records, like we talk a lot about these top 10 teams. And for me, I've been breaking it down by like plus 600 records.
Sure.
And so the Raptors have that 4-18 against plus 600 teams, but they're also 11-3 against teams that are between 500 and 600.
Right.
And so I do feel like, I think that's why even like the San Antonio loss, like the Minnesota loss at home, get even more frustrating because those felt like moments where you could have got over the hump. And then it's like, okay, we finally did it. And maybe, you know, you graduate from that. And so I think that's what I'm hoping RJ can help change. And so even if the offensive structure in the clutch doesn't change, if he can help change what's happening in the 40 to 44, 43 minutes before that, and maybe you get one of these games where because of what he's doing with this, you know, 22 a game, 56% shooting from the field, you build yourself more of a cushion and you can just get over that hump. I think that's where, you know, potentially things can change. Cause I do feel at this stage, it's probably a mental thing. Like it felt like, you know, that game in Minnesota when things were, you know, falling apart, it was like, here we go again from them, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting, man. Cause like as doom and gloom as it's felt, like they have objectively played these teams better over the last couple of weeks, right? Like, the first 3 quarters against the Thunder were really bad, but the fourth quarter was genuinely encouraging against that level of a defense. The Spurs game, the first 3 quarters might've been the best 3 quarters they've played all season long. They had that really great inspired run late against the Knicks to pull to within 2, and they just kept punching back in that game, even though the Knicks are as high-powered as they are. And the first half against the Wolves was really encouraging as well, with some, again, punch back when the other team kind of punched you in the mouth. Like, they're making progress. I know it's not the progress everybody wants, and the results are still the same at the end of the day, but there is like incremental stuff happening here. They just got to get over the hump against one of these teams, and maybe being on the road against the Rockets tonight, where the road is just like where they're happiest. I don't know. Maybe this is the environment to do it, but yeah, like it's at this point, to your point, it feels very much more like self-fulfilling prophecy than anything else. And it's giving like Dwayne Casey, like, what are we supposed to do vibes almost, but not quite to that dire level or that sort of many, many years on repeat level still though. Yeah, like getting one of these, I think will go a long way. And yeah, having RJ, I think it makes their starting lineup more potent offensively. They've found some pockets in games where RJ and like IQ have helped to sort of stem the tide while, you know, Ingram or Scottie sit. Like, he helps fill in those 48 minutes, to your point, a lot more effectively. And if you can just run the normal stuff with the starting 5 in clutch minutes, even if it's a little easier to slow down for opposing defenses, it's still probably better than what they're currently doing. And so, yeah, I think RJ can help here. Does he help in sort of a big sort of existential way as far as the bigger picture problems with the team build? Probably not. But for this season, he can be an agent for progress, I think, in this particular issue. Someone who will not be helping the Toronto Raptors at all with any of their offensive issues is literally any of the media members, Big V, who played in the media game on Saturday. We'll take a couple minutes here to, I don't know, indulge the people and dig into it a little bit. Again, I didn't want to talk about it solo yesterday because it felt weird, but you were there. You were on the team, the green team that lost to my red team. It was a game that was kind of over early. It was like 12-0 in the first 5 minutes, and we just kind of coasted from there. You know, you can't say that our clutch offense lets lead spiral away. We figured a way to kind of scrape points over the board, even as you guys got hot in the second half. I don't know, takeaways from what was a pretty fun day. A little self-indulgent, certainly, but yeah, I had a great time, and more so because I was banging threes and feeling good about myself. But how did you feel, especially as you were largely to blame for Louis Zatzman winning MVP for my team because you were guarding him quite often?
I don't know about all that. I mean, twice.
Maybe I'm putting you on blast unfairly for a couple of possessions that happened in front of the bench while I was on the bench, but that's the sample I saw. Lewis is quick with it, man. He's got that crossover in close. He's got some handle.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was definitely surprised by him the first time, and then he got me one more time. I don't remember guarding him beyond that.
Well, yeah, because your coach was just like, "Get him out of there! Get it! Get it!"
So yeah, I feel like you guys definitely had the intensity. That was the big thing that Will brings.
Oh yeah, we had Will screaming at everybody.
Yeah, like this was my first time playing this game, and I thought it was just going to be like a fun all-star vibe. So noted for next time. I think that was probably the difference. And like the way you guys started out, like you guys brought it. We did not. Like that 12-0 start, that was pretty much the difference in the game. You guys won by 10. So yeah, I thought it was still it was fun. It was, not pretty basketball at all. Big thank you to Raptors PR setting that up, and like all the people that made time, from the scorers to the referees to Darko.
Legitimate hero work, spending their Saturday watching us do that.
And Darko drawing up. Well, he didn't draw up the plays, but he set up the situation for us to do that. I honestly thought he thought it was actually the end of the game when it was the end of the first half, and it was like, oh, you know what? Let's give them a little extra to do. But yeah, super fun experience, and I will be ready to go next year.
I would hope so. You gotta be there to win, man. I would say I was like I was trying to like hustle and stuff. I was nowhere near Will's level of anger over like blown rotations or anything like that. Will, I mean, if you've watched a basketball game with Will or played basketball with Will or watched a podcast where he's talking about basketball, you get Will's vibe. He's very intense and into it, which is why we love Will. But yeah, just like screaming at his own teammates about blown coverages in a media game was a special kind of unhinged. And I very much appreciated having at least one person with that level of intensity. Would have been weird if there were more, I think, probably. We're going to play an impromptu game of what sound did you make? Big V, what sound did you make when I hit a three from, I don't know, 35 feet away? My sound was, huh? I did not expect that to go in, but it was pretty sweet. What was your sound?
Yeah, I was kind of like, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Because we weren't even on the board at that point, were we?
No, I don't think so. I think this was part of the 12-0 run to start.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, man, we can't. We're missing layups, and this dude's knocking down logo threes. Like, this is not looking good, man. Yeah,
it was like Lou Williams at the end of a clock in 2014-15.
Oh my god,
in that possession. Yeah. That feels like enough of that. We will leave it there. Big V, anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
I should have an RJ Barrett feature coming out for Yahoo Canada, so you can check that out. And it's kind of just like some anecdotes from his Mississauga days and just how cool it is for a kid who grew up in Mississauga dreaming of playing for the Raptors actually doing the thing. And so, yeah, it was obviously there's a lot been written by Canadians about RJ. So I was just trying to find a few things that maybe haven't been told yet. And so hopefully people enjoy it.
Hell yeah, man. Everyone go keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, join the Discord, link in the description of the podcast, 100% free to join. You can also join the Locked On Everydayer Club. If you go to the link in the description, find the Locked On Raptors landing page. It's at lockedonraptors.supercast.com. You can sign up, and using the code MARCH, you will get a month for free. Plus, you'll get to keep on getting ad-free episodes for just $5 a month, $50 for the year after that. So that's very nice and cool. And yeah, thank you so much for supporting the show, for doing all the stuff, reviewing, telling a friend, et cetera, et cetera. It's always so dear to me anytime someone supports the show in any small way. And we'll be back again on Wednesday to hopefully talk about a win over the Houston Rockets. We'll see, though. In the meantime, thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was like one of your worst ones.
Yeah, it's like shooting like you in the media game.
Oh.